somebody who maybe is just feeling a little stuck, what kind of advice would you give them? And also, how do you stay motivated to do this?
Well, I think one of the most important elements is...
Welcome back to another CFI Member Spotlight. One of my favorite things to do is sit down with CFI members and designation holders like Shawn Jahromi, who I'm excited to finally have you on the podcast today. Thanks for joining us, Shawn.
Thanks for having me.
So you received your FMVA in 2019, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And what struck me when we first got connected is just your educational background and the things that you've done to pursue higher education and professional designations like FMVA. And so what I want to start with first is really just talk about your educational journey. And you have such an interesting background, because oftentimes when we start these podcasts, I'm saying, tell me about your finance origin story, but you got your undergrad in electrical engineering, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I graduated from BCIT a few years ago. Usually when I introduce myself, I say I'm a recovering engineer, because what I do right now is not directly engineering. I'm in the world of project management and digital transformation.
Yeah. So tell me, so you get your degree in electrical engineering, and then you get your master's. So what made you decide to go for your master's after you got your electrical engineering undergrad?
That's such an interesting question. I've always been interested in finance and entrepreneurship. That's why I decided to pursue an MBA, and also that's one of the primary reasons why I was interested in completing the FMVA certification. I've always wanted to understand balance sheets and the finance side of the business.
Interesting. So did you go through the electrical engineering program? Was it a passion and you went through it and said, I want to do something else? Or was it, just tell me a little bit about that transition to say, I've got this, degree, and now I'm going to go get degrees and other things. And because we're going to talk about your doctorate here in a minute as well, but tell me a little bit about that.
For sure, 100%. I've always been interested in electrical engineering since I was in grade 1. My dad was a university professor. I have vivid memories of him coming back home with circuit boards, and as a child, I played with circuit boards. Not the safest thing to play with as a child, but that's how I was inspired to get into electrical engineering. So growing up, that's all I knew. I knew electrical engineering. I knew that I wanted to go to school to learn how to engineer a circuit board or build a device. Pretty soon after I graduated, I discovered, when I got into the real world, I discovered so many more things. There was business, there was entrepreneurship, there was project management. And I was the proverbial fat kid in the candy store. I was so excited about learning about all these things, and business management and project management and finance resonated with me. And that's how I became more interested in these topics.
It always strikes me what a lifelong learner you are, like truly the definition of that. I think you value it clearly. It's just so impressive, your kind of dedication to continuous learning.
Yeah, thank you. I think being a lifelong learner is very important, especially if you're in the world of technology and finance, because that world is constantly evolving and innovation doesn't stop. And it's important to have an open mind and continuously learn to keep up with technology and finance.
Indeed. So tell us a little bit about your decision to do FMVA. It was after you had your master's or thereabouts. So what made you decide to go and do a professional certificate?
I've always been interested in valuation and in the stock market, and I really wanted to learn a more educated and responsible way of investing in the stock market. And I did some research online, and I came across CFI, and I quickly learned that CFI has all these wonderful programs. In valuation, I signed up for the platform, and you guys make a few of the videos available. And when I saw the quality of the videos, I was pleasantly surprised. The videos are very clear, very, very high quality, easy to understand, and I was interested in signing up. Bottom line is, it was my interest in learning how to invest and understanding what balance sheets are and how valuation works.
Well, I'm glad that the free courses were enough to tempt you and intrigue you into becoming a member and starting to pursue your FMVA. And that was really driven by some of your personal goals as well, it sounds like, around finance. Can you, and I know this is a really big general question, but how would you compare some of the finance things that you learned pursuing your MBA with some of the things that you learned then when you dove into CFI and the FMVA?
That's such a great question. So when you're taking an MBA program, an MBA is more like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and they have a variety of all different kinds of dishes. The focus is not so much the quality, it's the quantity. And the primary difference between the CFI's program and a generic MBA is that CFI has gone to great lengths to create high quality content on that niche of valuation. So I felt I had access to much more better quality information when it came to valuation than the MBA. The MBA was great for learning many, many different topics and getting a general overview. However, I thought that the CFI program was so much of a better fit for what I was looking for because of that niche focus in valuation.
Yeah, the specificity. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. You have other professional designations or certifications you've gone, or certificate programs you've gone through before, right?
Yeah, so I'm a certified project manager, and that reminds me of one more thing. Taking this program was tremendously helpful in my project management career, specifically because there were a few more courses on budgeting and forecasting. And in the world of project management, it's very important to be able to create budgets and forecast cost for your project.
Such a good point. I can't wait to dive into your career a little bit for sure. So you have your project management certificate as well. And then when did you decide to go pursue your PhD? Because you're pursuing a PhD now, is that right?
Correct. More specifically, it's a doctorate degree in business administration, a DBA. And that's because I run a consulting company, Alpha Ray Consulting, and I really wanted to crystallize my knowledge that I've gained over the past 15 years of being in the world of digital transformation, project management, and technology into my dissertation.
I love it. And when do you expect you're going to be finished pursuing that and have your doctorate?
Hopefully by the end of 2025.
Fantastic. And I cannot wait to talk to you then about what you're going to do next, because it feels like you're always doing something, right?
100%.
I love it. Incredible. So impressive, just your dedication to your learning and your, again, continuous education and staying current. So let's talk about your career, because what a varied and interesting career you've had as well. And again, just thinking about, talking to somebody who's pursued their FMVA with a degree in electrical engineering, tell us about your first role or your first real professional role. Maybe it was after you got your undergrad degree. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, so that was in the field of not exactly electrical engineering. It was in design of audiovisual systems, and I worked with a variety of different professionals like project managers, and that was actually my first encounter with the world of project management. Audiovisual systems design was a discipline that I didn't even know it exists. But I just randomly stumbled upon that world and learned a lot of great things in systems design, but also learned a lot of great things in project management, mostly because that specific employer required me to wear many, many different hats. And it was in fact a blessing, because it exposed me to many, many other disciplines within that industry.
And project management, I feel like any role, any industry has that need, and that sort of seat of project management. You get such exposure to the whole business. And I think I'm curious if you think this too, like, I think project management, you really get a lot of business acumen built up very quickly, because you have to understand all of the pieces, and it's so cross-functional. Was that your experience as well?
100%. The project management is interesting in the sense that a successful project manager needs many, many different core competencies. One of the most important ones is being able to have finance skills, be able to do forecasting and budgeting, but also a successful project manager is also a good people manager and has great interpersonal skills, has great technical skills, and many, many, many different skills. The great thing about it is that you're not confined to only one niche. You can benefit from many, many different core competencies.
Yeah, well said, for sure. So then after you left the audiovisual design company, did you move into a project management role at your next position, or what was that next position after that?
That's correct. So pretty much always there was a project management element to what I did, but shortly after that, I decided to just dive deep into the world of project management. And I worked with many, many great companies. I worked with Ford Motors. I worked with Electronics Arts. And I managed a couple of large-scale IT projects for Electronics Arts. And that's where I use the budgeting skills and the forecasting skills the most. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be able to learn these skills, and I think that helped me become much more successful in that position.
How fun too. I'm sure that was just, again, the chance to work on those large scale projects must have been really exciting. So what led you to decide to focus on digital transformation, both in your doctorate, but professionally? Tell us a little bit about how that came to be. I know when I first met you, I was just fascinated to hear a little bit about how you think about it, and just tell us a little bit more about that.
100%. So digital transformation is the science of leveraging technology in order to deliver value to the stakeholders. And throughout my career, I saw a market gap where many other companies who are not exactly certified in the world of digital transformation, they purport to be in the field of digital transformation. And I really thought there is some deficiencies in the market, and there's a big market gap. And that's why I decided to sign up for the doctorate program and crystallize all my knowledge from the working with some of the biggest names in the world, like Ford Motors and Electronics Arts, into my dissertation. I've also worked in the world of healthcare, was involved in Royal Columbian Hospital redevelopment project phase 2, where I learned a lot of amazing things in the world of healthcare. So this DBA program is giving me the opportunity to crystallize all of that knowledge and information into my dissertation, and hopefully there'll be a tool to further the knowledge in that area.
And I like your definition. I'm actually going to have you repeat it, of what digital transformation is. I like your definition a lot, because I think a lot of people hear that word digital transformation, don't really know what it means, think it's something in specific, but I love how you frame it through business value for the stakeholders. So say that one more time.
Yes. So it's the art of leveraging technology in order to deliver value to the stakeholders. And one of the main preconceived notions is that digital transformation is just upgrading, getting a better TV, installing better switches. But that's not really what digital transformation is. Digital transformation is a management consulting discipline, and it's the focus of digital transformation is delivering value to the stakeholders. It's not necessarily getting better technology. Technology is a tool for delivering value to the stakeholders.
Yeah. And so has there been a project so far that you've worked on that was a particular favorite, or can you share a little bit more about, some of the projects you've worked on around digital transformation?
Yeah, so one of the most interesting projects I worked on was the project for electronics arts. I worked very closely with the end users and multiple different stakeholders, and collected requirements and created the project scope, and basically took this project from gathering requirements from the concept stage all the way to getting it approved, creating a budget for it, and also procuring all the necessary outside help, outside contractors in order to execute that project. And we carried that project all the way to the end, which was commissioning, testing, commissioning, and also knowledge transfer and project handover to the stakeholders. It was a very exciting project. It was a wonderful pleasure working with the EA folks. EA has a wonderful corporate culture. I feel like it was a wonderful place to work for.
And I'm sure it's so fulfilling to be able to take a large project like that, kind of see it through from concept to completion. Very fulfilling, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's overall a wonderful place to work for. And I think corporate culture is very important. It's and that's also a digital transformation concept, which is change in the company's culture in order to prepare that company for transformation. It starts with culture. And I think that EA Games has a wonderful, wonderful culture.
Love to hear that. And it's a good point, because change management, which is its own discipline, right? I would think there can be no digital transformation without great change management as well. That's a good
100%.
Point. Yeah.
100%.
So you now are pursuing your doctorate, and you are also an entrepreneur. You mentioned, your interest in entrepreneurial endeavors really is a through line through your career and your educational journey. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, your consulting company, and the kinds of projects that you're working on there.
Yeah, so I run a company called Alpha Ray Consulting, and our primary focus is digital transformation. And so one of the wonderful projects we worked on was consulting with Sick Kids Hospital. And we created a proposal for how they can leverage technology in order to create a better experience for the patients.
Oh, so fulfilling, I'm sure. Wow.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, Shawn, thank you for coming on the podcast so we could talk a bit about your approach to learning and your career. And if you were to give somebody, there's so much I could ask you about this, but let me think. If you were to give somebody advice who needed some encouragement or motivation around finishing or starting an educational endeavor, whether it's higher education or undergrad or a professional certification, you've got two of those. Somebody who maybe is just feeling a little stuck, what kind of advice would you give them? How do you stay motivated to do this?
Well, I think one of the most important elements is passion, is loving what you do and focusing on the end goal. And yes, studying is not easy. You got to be disciplined. You have to finish the quizzes on time. You have to finish the assignments on time. But really, you have to think about the end goal and the success you'll have after you obtain your professional certification. If your passion is finance, I think the FMVA program was an amazing program. The high quality videos, I think they're a great learning tool, and overall makes the experience of the learner much a better experience. But really, passion, I think, is one of the most important elements. That's what makes you power through the program and finish it.
I love that answer. That's fantastic. And you're just such a good inspiration of,
Thank you.
keeping the end in mind of what your goals are, and that, using that to continue to motivate yourself and picking things you're passionate about. So, what a great place to end the podcast today. Thank you so much for doing this and sharing your experience and your journey so far. And we'll definitely have to pick this up in 2025.
100%.
And when you've got your doctorate and on to the next thing, I'm sure.
I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. FinPod is brought to you by Corporate Finance Institute, the #1 rated online provider of finance and banking training, certifications, and productivity tools.